Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is perception. And that should be a lot of fun until let's settle in for a minute or two before we get started. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it, and imagine bright, clear, crisp oxygen coursing into your lungs and into your bloodstream and into all the organs of your body, enlivening and invigorating you. And as you exhale, exhale any tension in your body, your neck, your head, your shoulders, your back and hips and knees and ankles. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose. Hold it and imagine sparkling white light coursing throughout your being, through every molecule in your body, and reaching out beyond into the world and connecting you with this amazing, miraculous universe. And now let's just gently press our palms together, softly rub your fingers against your palms. Feel the tingling in your fingers, feel the tingling in your palms, and let's presence ourselves to the deliciousness of the physicalness that we get to enjoy. And so today's topic is perception. Welcome to everybody who's here this morning. I'm so glad to share this time with you. I am going live just on Facebook this morning directly because Zoom wasn't playing nice. You guys may have been experiencing similar things with the changes of the interfaces for Facebook and for Zoom. Anyway, I am excited to have the ability to go direct with you. So good morning, good morning, good morning. And in the past, when I've gone direct, I haven't been able to see your comments. And I don't know if that's still going to be the case today. I hope not. But in any case, I'm hoping that we can play together with this idea around perception. So we interact with the world as if what we perceive is real and true. And the fact of the matter is that we are always receiving all kinds of input from our environment, visual stimulation, auditory stimulation, kinesthetic, olfactory, even a sense of taste, all of our senses, plus our other than conscious awareness too, which is expanding our experience of what's happening in the world. And we then take all this data and process it. We're like these amazing data processing machines, and based on the data that we process, we interpret reality, and we call that interpretation reality. So whatever the impulse, whatever the impulses are that we're receiving, whatever the data is that we're collecting, we tend to interact with our collective interpretation of all of that as truth and as real. And that's on the most basic level. If we look at our relationship, I'm guessing that the comments aren't working, guys, and I'm really sorry because I don't see anything happening in the chat. Hopefully we'll be able to get back on Restream through Zoom tomorrow, and I'll be able to talk to you. Anyway, I hope that you'll still put comments in the chat so that I can respond to them after our conversation. So when we interact with others, we are interpreting their body language. We are interpreting their tone of voice. We are interpreting their facial expressions. And all of these interpretations that we have are based on our experience, right? On prior experience that we've had, we make the associations, and this is a very, very natural and essential function in order for ourselves to survive, we need to be able to, as living creatures and as fundamentally animals, we need to be able to assess the danger in our situation for survival purposes. We need to be able to interpret the environment to be able to determine how best to respond or to react. And I guess what this conversation brings me to really is making a distinction between responsiveness and reactivity. So when we interact with others, we are largely interacting through an internal conversation, whether it's conscious or otherwise. We have this internal dialogue about who this person is, all of our interpretations, who they are, what they're saying means, who they've been in the past, who they remind me of, uh, what my anticipation is of what they're going to say, and also a projection of my sense of myself, how that person is impacting my sense of self-worth, my sense of presence, my sense of being appreciated, and it goes on and on and on. So when someone says something that offends us, we're perceiving that they are maybe trying to do us harm. Maybe they're trying to assert themselves over our needs. Maybe they're trying to uh, maybe they're ignoring us. These are all interpretations, and I'm not saying that they're not necessarily accurate. I am saying that they're interpretations, and these interpretations are often driven by, are primarily driven by our internal experience of our past, of other similar people, of other interactions that we've had with this person, projections of our pain, our insecurity, our love, our internal experience, really. So the thing that I wanted to discuss with you, and please do put comments, and I'm curious as to when in life you may have had your perception of someone radically shift as a result of some interaction that you've had. So I would venture to guess that most of us have had an experience where a trust has been breached. And once that trust has been breached, it can impact our experience of our own world and of ourselves, because we are thrown into a moment of lack of distrust for ourselves and for our own perception and for our own capacity to perceive what's real. But what is at the heart of that breach of trust? If we look more closely at it, it comes to an expectation that we've had of how the other person would behave, or how the other person would react, or of how any person might react. So if someone acts in a way that is so completely misaligned with our understanding or interpretation of how a circumstance like that might unfold, if it's completely nonlinear, then that can be a profound breach of trust. And when we think about that breach of trust, what it is a perception that we can't really square with the way that we expected circumstances to unfold. And it's interesting in exploring this notion of perception how deeply it goes into the nature of our interpretations of the world as being something that is a a completely internal experience. And that brings us to the perception, for instance, of beauty or of kindness or of ugliness or discord. What happens? How are we perceiving, and what happens when we allow ourselves to explore beyond the interpretations, to become present into a moment, allowing our past experience to float, to release its hold on us, to be looking at something, perceiving something or someone with new eyes, without the projection of this person loves me or this person hates me or this person reveres me or this person tries to dominate me. What happens if we allow ourselves to be present to our engagement with this person and assess it for what is happening in that moment? I don't know even if we're capable of doing that fully. And if we were able to, I imagine that the more we're able to do that, the more effectively we will be able to read the signals in that situation. So often, by perceiving danger, and I'm not saying that this is always the case, because oftentimes we don't perceive danger and therefore endanger ourselves, but also on the other side of the coin, oftentimes by perceiving danger or expecting danger, we create danger. For instance, and this is just a really simple situation, people who are very frightened about what can happen when you're driving tend to be not just cautious, but in many cases overly cautious and really nervous and reactive drivers, and can potentially create a more dangerous circumstance because they are so fearful and anxious and nervous. And when when we take that kind of attitude into a circumstance, yes, there is a true capacity or capability for a dangerous situation when we're driving. Driving is something that puts us in the field of the unexpected, right? However, when we bring fear into that realm of the unexpected, and it's a matter perhaps of a degree of fear, like I mean a degree of fear beyond caution, but extreme fear and anxiety, then we are likely to create circumstances that are exactly what we're trying to avoid. And I'm sure you guys have had experiences where you've created exactly the situation that you were trying to avoid. All that attention and focus on what you don't want and what you're trying to avoid actually facilitates the occurrence of those circumstances. So our perceptions are not truly factual. We interact with them as though they are. We we build evidence to support the veracity of our perceptions, but I encourage you to allow yourself to maybe take a moment in, especially if there's an altercation or especially if there's a situation where you're really angry with somebody or you're really disenchanted, there may be good reason. It may be because you actually saw something that was truer than what you had seen previously. And so much of our reaction is, and maybe all of it, is based on our internal experience and dialogue and interpretation. So um, I invite you to look at what is at the root of the upset with this other person. And I'm not talking about where people get physically violent or emotionally violent. That happens and it's important. I guess I am talking about those situations too, because so many times in situations that are abusive, we justify the other person's abuse and allow ourselves to persist in situations where perhaps we shouldn't, because we have all these other projections that allow us to perpetuate those circumstances. So this is a tightrope kind of conversation, but it's really important to be looking at what our projections are onto our situations, onto one another, onto ourselves, in order to become more present to what's actually there. And becoming more present is a place of greater peace and also neutrality. And from that place of neutrality, we have a greater capacity to respond appropriately. So, this is a theme that keeps coming back again and again and again, because it all comes down to presence. It all comes down to recognizing the dynamic that's going on, being able to, as we recognize it, perhaps allow ourselves to release whatever it is that we're holding, or at least to hold it with open hand, and then to recognize what is underneath that dynamic that might bring us more into the capacity to respond in a more appropriate way. So I wanna say thank you, thank you, thank you for being here with me today. I'm going to wrap this up. We don't have comments today. Hopefully, we'll be back through Restream tomorrow and have the comments issue handled. And in the meantime, this is the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin. I'm here every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and we are broadcasting live on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. Please check out the other offerings from the Enlightened Network. Enlightened World Network. Wonderful community, very much about connecting to our presence and purpose and calling and divinity. So, with that, so much love and deep compassion for you, and I look forward to being able to actually communicate with you directly in real time again soon. Lots and lots of love.